Let's all repeat the mantra, it's only a movie. And if you think you're going to go into the movie and recapture your childhood, you're setting yourself up for disappointment.
I hope people are happy. It seems like, because in Hollywood, remember kids, it's not important if it's of high quality, only if it makes money. So because The Force Awakens made a lot of money, I can't be, it's not ergo, it's good.
Actors like to write their own backstories. You want to figure out what you've done and where you've been. But I realized that wasn't really important to the story of Force Awakens. I still made it up myself. And, I tried to show it to JJ, and he, was accommodating, but basically patted me on the head, gave me a cookie, and made me go away. Because, whatever, make it up. I mean, they allude to things that have happened. And to a certain extent, it's not Luke's story anymore. But I think he's an important part of the overall arc of the saga. And again, there's a lot of mystery about him, even within the film. So you have to fill in your own backstory. I'm sure there'll be comic books and video games and novels that tell the story, but...
I'm just going to break in here and make sure that everybody out there realizes he is so significantly important to this next film. You have no idea.
Well, that's good to hear.
Mr. Modesty.
When I read 8, I told Ryan, I fundamentally disagree with virtually everything you've decided about my character. But, other than that, I can't really describe more, but it was as shocking to me to read what Ryan had written as I'm sure it will be for the audience.
Were you satisfied and excited in terms of how integral Luke is and was to the story? Were you surprised by what Ryan chose to do?
Yes, I was very surprised. And I have to tell you, and I should have realized that when I read 7, I said, I love everybody's part except mine. And on this one, it was similar in the sense that I said to Ryan, I'm so surprised how you see Luke. Who is this guy? How did the most optimistic, hopeful character in the galaxy turn into this hermit who says it's time for the Jedi to end? I read that and I said, what? I mean, that's not what a Jedi does. I mean, a Jedi is optimistic. A Jedi has tenacity. He never gives up. He doesn't secrete himself on an island, but you'll see. He's got a really devilish way with storylines. I mean, well, without giving anything away, it's time for the Jedi to end. Are you kidding me? Yeah. I was the most optimistic, hopeful character in all the movies. How could he arrive at a place where he's a cynical hermit? It's beyond comprehension.
So how did you feel when you saw that?
Appalled. Yeah, a Jedi never gives up. If he makes a mistake, he corrects it. I said, Jedis don't give up. I mean, even if he had a problem, he would maybe take a year to try and regroup. But if he made a mistake, he would try and right that wrong. So right there, we had a fundamental difference. But it's not my story anymore. It's somebody else's story. And Ryan needed me to be a certain way to make the ending effective. That's the crux of my problem. Luke would never say that. I'm sorry. Well, in this version, see, I'm talking about the George Lucas Star Wars. This is the next generation of Star Wars. So I almost had to think of Luke as another character. Maybe he's Jake Skywalker. He's not my Luke Skywalker, but I had to do what Ryan wanted me to do because it serves the story well. But listen, I still haven't accepted it completely, but it's only a movie. I hope people like it. I hope they don't get upset. You can't help but feel some measure of ownership, like Luke wouldn't say that, Luke wouldn't do this. But once we had that conversation, my job was to wipe out what Mark Hamill wants and do my best to realize Ryan's vision. And I thought, I'm going to turn over everything. You usually have a inner mechanism that says, well, this feels right, this doesn't feel right. But all throughout the process, I just said, he'd say, we got it. And I said, shouldn't we do one more? And he said, no, we got it.
Well, I said, well, Ryan, if you're happy, I'm happy. And he was my seeing eye dog. So if I've succeeded in any way, it's all because of Ryan. And also, if I fail, it's also because of Ryan.
I know that initially you weren't sure if this was the right way to go with your character, but the phenomenal response, I guess, tells you that people really enjoyed it.
Give the people what they want. Kill Luke.
Yeah, well, I said to JJ, it's too bad that Luke and Leia can't rush to Han Solo's side. I mean, we won't be reunited, and we'll still be too late to save him, but at least we have some history between us so that when he dies, it has a tragic element that resonates into the next film. As usual, JJ was right and I was wrong. I thought fans would object to the fact that the three of us don't all get together. Yeah. They didn't seem to mind. Now you've seen in the new trailer, Luke says it's time for the Jedi to end. That's terribly shocking. Yeah. I thought, I don't want to go there. I want to be the optimistic, hopeful one like before.
Oh, I was frustrated when I read the first script and I said, we don't have any scene, even a brief reunion at all. Mm-hmm. I objected to that and I said, I think the fans are not going to like it. I was wrong. As it turns out, there was no backlash.
I mean, it says right in the script, forget the past, kill it if you have to. And you're doing a pretty good job.
I'm trying.
The fact that my first reaction was, can't we push this off until 9? You know, I said earlier, I don't want to repeat myself, I only asked for 2 things. No cameos and a run of the trilogy part. See how well that worked out for me? But yeah, you look for scripts that are highly original, and that's why I thought Last Jedi was incredibly daring, you know? I mean, because I remember one thing that was very informative to me, because I would say like, you know, but we really have to think of what the audience expects and what they want. And he says, no, we have to do the opposite. We have to give them something they don't expect that we want. And I started making the emotional disconnect that I need to go through when I read 7. Not the fact that I was just in at the end, the fact when I realized, oh my gosh, I'll never get to work with Harrison Ford again. That was the first big disconnect. Then the second one was, you know, realizing that, thinking that they'd kill me off in 9, that they were going to, you know, speed it up a little, you know, get rid of the old fogies and focus on the new gang. And then I relished the fact that I had at least a scene with Carrie. Because I kept saying, why would Luke turn off his telepathic powers with his sister? But then what happened with Carrie in real life, so that was so devastating that you go, well, we'll never get the band back together.
You can't go home again. You know, it was never meant to be a revival of what they did in the beginning. It was meant to be a whole new thing with us as supporting characters and a whole new cast. But that really affected me. And I thought, well, you know, I'll do my best with the material they give me. But, you know, like I say, my heart was really affected by that. And that'll never change.
Still keeping that kind of like...
Well, see, again, I mean, and I told Brian this, it's no surprise. I said, I just fundamentally disagree with your concept of this character and how you use him. Now, having said that, I'll do everything within my power to realize your vision. Because, you know, it's not my character to decide. It belongs to other people. They just rent it out to me.
Mark, very understandably, wasn't thrilled about some of the choices in the script. The big things being the place that Luke's head is at, the fact that he's not the Luke Skywalker that we knew, and frankly, the fact that he dies at the end.
It's heavy on him. He thought he's going to be the Luke Skywalker of this trilogy. It's just the realization that in this trilogy, he's not Luke Skywalker, he's Obi.
Well, I thought of what's happening today. I thought, well, what if I don't? I keep popping up.
You just have to reshoot.
I know. Within seconds, they'll just conk me on the head. Stay down, punk.
The scene that we can't know its name.
Oh, yeah. The scene that dare not speak its name.
Yes, exactly. Okay, thank you.
I'm going to make them sorry they ever came up with that idea.
I don't think he ever got to the point where he thought, okay, I understand why Luke has to go at the end of this. But he was completely devoted to making what I had written the most powerful version it can possibly be on the screen.
It's an interesting thing because, you have your own view of how your character should be and how he should be utilized. My character always represented hope and optimism, and now here I am, very pessimistic and disillusioned and sort of demoralized. No matter how this comes out, if I'm wonderful, it's because of him. And if it's terrible, it's also his fault.
Got it? Right, what's on that? What's up, please? 20 feet. Camarino.
This is Kylo's version of it, where he tells her that he woke up, saw Luke about to kill him, and defended himself. Which I don't think he's lying, actually. In my mind, that was his experience, It's actually Luke who was really distorting the truth when he left out the stuff in his first telling of it. But, I think that it's probably twisted a little bit by Kylo's own anger and his own prejudices against Luke, but I feel like he's actually telling her the truth. I would be worried if everybody across the board was like, yeah, that was a good movie. It's much more exciting to me when you get, a group of people who are like coming up to you and really, really excited about it. And then there are other people who walk out literally saying that was the worst movie I've ever seen. Having those two extremes to me is the mark of the type of movie that I want to make.